What is your hottest pop culture take?
So I read a lot of Marvel comic books. The biggest villain wasn't Thanos, it was Galactus.
You may be the wealthiest person in this race. What can you tell us about the claims President Trump has made about his own business record?
Well, I think he's a fraud. Let me tell you the difference between me and Trump. His dad gave him a ton of money to start. You know what my dad did for me? He helped me carry the furniture into my first company. I built businesses that were admired in their communities. I paid all my bills. We invested in our people. I created jobs. We innovated. What did he leave behind? Bankruptcies, stiffing working people like my dad, because that was the kind of people he stiffed, like union electricians, right? He didn't build anything, he was a promoter. He just wanted to slap his name on buildings. He doesn't care about building, he cares about branding. I care about building something. Climate change has to be an issue that has to be tackled if we actually want to leave the world better than we found it. And I think that's our most fundamental responsibility. My first paying job was probably after 8th grade, and I mowed lawns all summer. And then I had a lot of paying jobs throughout my high school years working for my dad, who was an electrician. Most of my high school and college summers working on construction sites. So I think on a number of important positions that people are running on, I have come out against conventional wisdom. I'm for universal health care, but not Medicare for all. Let's not be the party that's telling 150 million Americans, of which over 100 million of them like their insurance, that we're going to take that away from them. So the way my plan works is I leave Medicare alone, and then I create a whole new program that everyone gets as a right from when they're born to they're 65. And then over 65, they go in Medicare. So that gives every single American health care coverage from when they're born to the end of their life, and they don't have to pay for it. But I also say that if you actually don't want the government plan, you can opt out and go buy your own private insurance. Maybe you'll get a tax credit to do that.
Some critics have said that your opposition to Medicare for All may be related to your own financial connections to the healthcare industry. What would you say to them?
Well, nothing could be further from the truth, right? My wife and I decided 10 years ago to dedicate the rest of our lives to public service. The opportunities this amazing country has given me, a blue-collar kid, first in my family to go to college, successful entrepreneur. If I was worried about like my own financial interests, I wouldn't be doing public service with the rest of my life. People say Will Ferrell, so I'll go with Will Ferrell.
What is a tough question that you think every candidate in this race should have to answer?
Why are you doing it? At the end of the day, I think the candidates really need to look the American people in the eyes and say, this is why I want to be your president. You know, I know how I answer that question. I believe I'm the person that this country needs at this moment in time. I believe our next president should be someone who's committed every minute of the day to try to take this terribly divided nation and bring it back together.
That was your question to all the candidates. Here is a question from one of the other candidates.
If you look back over time, innovation has always created more jobs than it's displaced. One of the industries I want to build is something called the direct air capture industry. They're like vacuums. They suck carbon out of the atmosphere. They work, but the problem is they're really expensive and they're subscale. I would have said the same thing about wind and solar 30 years ago. I'm going to be the president that is going to create a market for direct air capture technologies. We're going to locate it in the heartland of the United States of America. It's going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and we're going to save the planet in the process. Waze. The funny thing about Waze, when I was in the Congress, so many Republicans would say, I don't want to be tracked. And they would say this while they're watching Waze and driving around. I'd be like, I think you lost that battle a long time ago. 9 hours, 22 minutes? That can't be possible. But how's that possible? I don't look at this thing 9 hours a day. Email, yeah.
Or if you're using Waze.
Right, if I'm using Waze. And I use Waze all the time. I think what people don't really fully appreciate about me is the things I'm trying to achieve are actually very progressive. Getting us to net zero by 2050, ensuring every American child has access to pre-K, reforming our immigration system, creating a form of universal health care. These are the things I work towards. But the way I get there often involves bringing the government and the private sector and the nonprofit sector to work together, because that's how I think we get the best outcomes. It often involves figuring out where you can actually find common ground. For example, on climate, I think I can get something done really big my first year as president with all the Democrats in the Congress and the Republicans that live in coastal states. That's the coalition that I believe I can build to get something big done on climate.
Your father, who was an electrician, and I'm pretty sure he was a union member. Can you talk about the state of unions and working Americans?
There's a strong correlation between declining union membership and what's really happening to workers in this country. So I'm a strong supporter of workers' rights to organize. The labor movement has effectively made every advance that we've made in terms of protecting workers in this country. So when we support the labor movement, we're really supporting workers everywhere. So when I really feel burned out and I need to recharge, it's a combination of family time and then trying to get work out in. One of the things I worked on that really had an impact on people was something called the Fisher Houses. Fisher Houses are these public-private partnerships to build housing for families of veterans that are located near VA hospitals or other hospitals where veterans are getting a lot of care. We used to have family members, they were spending all their money to travel and see them, that they didn't have the money to stay anywhere, and they were setting up tents on the lawns of the VA hospitals. We work on a lot of big things, dealing with climate change, building infrastructure, all this other stuff. But then when you actually see the human being at that very difficult time in their life and realizing you did something to help them out, still think about it. I was a huge Springsteen fan growing up in New Jersey. I've now seen 30 of his concerts. He walked into the hotel bar where I was sitting with some buddies of mine, and I was pretty darn starstruck about that.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Born to Run. Well, I just am madly in love with my wife. I can't imagine loving anyone more than I love my wife, other than my 4 daughters, who I think are amazing, and I'm so proud of them. In many ways, they're what I'm about. I have read the Mueller report, and I do think it prompts action, and I think Nancy Pelosi is pursuing the right path. I think she's insisting upon investigations and oversight and actually getting to the truth on a lot of open questions that were revealed in the Mueller report. I've really moved very far on climate change, to the point when I ran for office the first time, I thought it was something that was very important, but as I did a lot more work on it, I realized what a real existential issue it is for the country. So what really prompted me to go really deep on climate was when the Keystone Pipeline decision was coming up, and I ended up being an early person in opposition to the Keystone Pipeline, but I did a huge amount of work around the issue and really realized what a very, very significant risk this is to us in ways that I don't think I had fully appreciated before. Yeah, I'm 75% productivity. That's pretty good, right? Trump's 1%. On a good day.
More 2020 candidates are coming your way. Drop us a comment below and let us know what you'd like to ask them. You can also check out more presidential contenders in our full 20 Questions for 2020 playlist. And be sure to subscribe to NowThis so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for watching.